Hi friends, it's Dana here. Today I have a book for you that was brought to you by my friend Molly, who has a friend that has some kids that really like this book. I happen to like it a lot too. I had just never heard of it, just like the words in this book that I had never heard before. Have you ever heard your parents say a word that you maybe don't usually hear, unless maybe they're saying it in an exclamatory sense, like you would need to put an exclamation point at the end of it because it was so expressive? Well, I say those words sometimes and I try really hard not to, but they just come out, just like in this book. And I think you're going to really enjoy it because it's kind of funny. So let's read it. It says, Daddy said a word I never heard. It's by Scott M. Kohn, and it is, of course, kid safe because this is a kid's book. It contains no actual exclamatory obscenities. Let's read it. All right. I was down in the playroom one crisp autumn eve with Tallulah and Ruby enjoying some tea. We'd had a nice portrait made up of us all, and Daddy was hanging it up on the wall. He took out a nail from inside his shirt pocket and, raising his hammer, got ready to sock it. But apparently things didn't quite go as planned, and the hammer slammed down with a great speed on his hand. He dropped all his tools to the floor and turned red. Then he shouted a word that I'd never heard said, "Scope!" Mommy seemed shocked, and Daddy got quiet. I grabbed my best Band-Aid and rushed to apply it. I bandaged his hand, and he put me to bed, but that word that I'd heard echoed all through my head. I thought of that time Daddy fell off the pier, and he shouted a word that was new to my ear, "Forhonge!" And when Daddy's good buddies came by to play games, the language they used seemed to be much the same. "Verdolj!" And of course, every time Uncle Elon stopped by, I was forced to wear headphones and never told why. The next day at school, he drew turkeys on plates, but my turkey looked like a big pig on green skates. I felt very angry and let out a shout, and that word that I'd heard was the one that came out. "Scoop!" When Mrs. Moran heard my frustrated bleat, she took me aside and we both had a seat. She asked where I'd picked up such colorful grammar, so I told her of Daddy's mistake with the hammer. She gave me a look that was stern yet sincere. We mustn't repeat every word that we hear. "But Daddy says all kinds of words," I replied. "Which ones can I say? How will I decide?" "Goody, the ones that he says when he stubs his big toe, Hiya! Or the DVR doesn't record a whole show. When his number one team just blotched a big play, Shlong? Those are the words that you ought not to say." Mrs. Moran said, "Let's put it to rest," and the end of the day came without further stress. At home, I found Mommy and Daddy contrite. I told them, I think I like meatloaf tonight. It seems that my teacher had called home that day and asked them to carefully choose what to say. I thought they'd be mad for what happened at school, but Daddy came over and pulled up a stool. "I'm sorry, my sweetie, for filling your head with those words that your daddy should never have said. There are still ways of speaking when you get upset that express how you're feeling and won't cause regret. So the next time you're drawing just doesn't look right. Or there's not enough wind to go fly your new kite. You can say, I'm not happy or I'm feeling blue. Then try to find something else fun you can do. I agreed that the best way to speak, as a rule, is to use all the good words I'm learning at school. Then Mommy surprised me with meatloaf and sprouts, but the plate was too hot and she let out a shout, "Get scop!" Woo-hoo. The end. I guess Daddy isn't the only one who says those words that you haven't heard before. But I think that was good advice to use all of those words and sentences that say how you actually feel instead of expressing some word that doesn't really mean anything. Thanks so much, friends. I hope you enjoyed my Swedish. It wasn't the best. Here is the list of the Swedish furniture that we enjoyed in this book, and maybe my Swedish friend Brad can help me with my Swedish pronunciation in the future. Okay, bye, friends. Thanks for reading with me.